was working at a big cancer center when I received the news that my mother had breast cancer. And then 5 days later, I received the news that I had breast cancer. My mother and I can be competitive. But I was really not trying to compete with her on this one. And in fact, I thought, well, if you have to have cancer, it's pretty convenient to be working at a place that treats it. But this is what I heard from a lot of outraged people. What? You're the chaplain. You should be immune. You know, like, maybe I should have just gotten off with a warning instead of an actual ticket, because, you know, I'm on the force, so, you know. So I did get my treatment at the cancer center where I worked, which was amazingly convenient. And I had chemotherapy and a mastectomy and a saline implant put in. And so before I say another word, let me just say right now, this is the fake one. I have found that I need to get that out of the way because I'll see somebody go. And then I'll move or I'll gesture something. So now you know. I learned a lot being a patient, and one of the surprising things was that only a small part of the cancer experience is about medicine. Most of it is about feelings and faith and losing and finding your identity and discovering strength and flexibility you never even knew you had. It's about realizing that the most important things in life are not things at all, but relationships. And it's about laughing in the face of uncertainty and learning that the way to get out of almost anything is to say, I have cancer. So the other thing I learned was that I don't have to take on cancer survivor as my identity, but boy, are there powerful forces pushing me to do just that. Now, don't please misunderstand me. Cancer organizations and the drive for early screening and cancer awareness and cancer research have normalized cancer. And this is a wonderful thing. We can now talk about cancer without whispering. We can talk about cancer and we can support one another. But sometimes it feels like people go a little overboard and they start telling us how we're going to feel. So about a week after my surgery, we had a house guest. That was probably our first mistake. And keep in mind that at this point in my life, I had been a chaplain for, over 20 years, and issues like dying and death and the meaning of life, these are all things that I'd been yakking about forever. So at dinner that night, our house guest proceeds to stretch his arms up over his head and say, Deb, now you're really going to learn what's important. Yes, you are going to make some big changes in your life, and now you're going to start thinking about your death. Yep, this cancer is your wake-up call. Now, these are golden words coming from someone who is speaking about their own experience. But when someone is telling you how you are going to feel, it's instant crap. The only reason I did not kill him with my bare hands is because I could not lift my right arm. But I did say a really bad word to him, followed by a regular word, that made my husband say, she's on narcotics. And then after my treatment, it just felt like everyone was telling me what my experience was going to mean. Oh, this means you're going to be doing the walk. Oh, this means you're coming to the luncheon. This means you're going to be wearing the pink ribbon and the pink t-shirt and the headband and the earrings and the bracelet and the panties. The panties. No, seriously, Google it. How is that raising awareness? Only my husband should be seeing my panties. He's pretty aware of cancer already. It was at that point where I felt like, oh my God, this is just taking over my life. And that's when I told myself, Claim your experience. Don't let it claim you. We all know that the way to cope with trauma, with loss, with any life-changing experience is to find meaning. But here's the thing. No one can tell us what our experience means. We have to decide what it means. And it doesn't have to be some gigantic extroverted meaning. You know, we don't all have to start a foundation or an organization or write a book or make a documentary. Meaning can be quiet and introverted. Maybe we make one small decision about our lives that can bring about big change. Many years ago, I had a patient, just a wonderful young man who was loved by the staff. And so it was something of a shock to us to realize that he had no friends. He lived by himself. He would come in for chemotherapy by himself. He'd receive his treatment, and then he'd walk home alone. And I even asked him, I said, "Hey, how come you never bring a friend with you?" And he said, "I don't really have any friends." But he had tons of friends on the infusion floor. We all loved him, and people were going in and out of his room all the time. So at his last chemo, you know, we sang him the song, and we put the crown on his head, and we blew the bubbles. And then I asked him, I said, "So what are you going to do now?" And he answered, "Make friends." And he did. He started volunteering, and he made friends.